Alright, so we've had two pretty big, massive changes with the Model Y, in my opinion, but they're separate, okay? One of these changes is for Giga Shanghai, and one of them is for Fremont in the US, and they change a lot about what the future of the Model Y may look like, in my opinion. So we're gonna do news, we're gonna do speculation and prediction, and if you don't like the speculation, don't watch this channel. You know, there's so many other Tesla YouTubers that will literally just read you the headlines, but I gotta dive into my own thoughts as well. So first of all, last weekend at Giga Shanghai, they actually updated the Model Y interior. This was totally unexpected. There were no leaks or rumors suggesting this, but they've added an ambient lighting across that column on the dash, which is no longer the same material for the black or white interior. So goodbye wood trim. Now it's some kind of gray mesh fabric, and from what I've noticed on the online images, still haven't seen any in-person images of this yet, but it appears to be the exact same color, whether you get the black or white interior, so a little bit more Tesla manufacturing simplicity there. And of course, the ambient lighting, while not as big a change as the Highland Model 3, they just literally added this customizable ambient light, just like how Highland has an ambient light, but not in the same way. I'm wondering if this is a way to try to prevent Osborne, like instead of shutting down the Model Y line for several months and then refreshing it so it has all of the same great features we saw in the new refresh Model 3 instead, maybe they roll out a little bit at a time. So they start with the ambient lighting, maybe a few months go by, and then they update the headlights and maybe the tail lights, and then a few months go by, then they add the ventilated seats. I don't know exactly what their thought process is here, but it should be mentioned that Giga Shanghai typically adds features first, and then a couple months go by, and then the North America market follows. So while yes, there is an exciting new rear-wheel drive Model Y that just launched yesterday, if you want ambient lighting, I guess, of some kind on your dashboard, you might want to wait a couple more months. But they also updated the Gemini wheels and gave them a much darker look, which in my opinion looks 10 billion% better. I've never been a fan of the lighter rims on vehicles. I always prefer the darker rims, and I didn't like Gemini wheels before, but now those darker ones certainly look much better. And Giga Shanghai not only serves, of course, China, but also exports Model Ys to Australia and Europe, so there's a very real chance that some of these options are going to become available in other countries as well, assuming your country gets vehicles from China. But yeah, let's move on to the more interesting elephant in the room. The rear-wheel drive Model Y is finally back in the United States. It's been forever. They got rid of it after just a couple of days of being on the site way back in 2021, except this one doesn't exactly meet the specifications of that original standard range Model Y. That one was a 244 mile range, whereas this new one has a 260 mile range. Basically crosses it right over that threshold of what Elon considers, you know, an acceptable range amount, which he said 250 plus needs to be standardized. But don't tell Elon what happens if you spec it with those 20-inch tires. The range might dip down a little bit. But what I found interesting about this new $44,000 Model Y is the 0 to 60 time is quite a bit slower than before, with 6.6 seconds. So I no longer have the slowest Tesla available in the US anymore. Like, they're taking everything away from me now. But also in the tech specs, we can see the weight is still well over 4,000 pounds, but the peak charging speed is 170 kilowatts. So while we don't have exact confirmation from Tesla yet, because no one has taken delivery of this new rear-wheel drive Model Y, I have a suspicion that this is probably a lithium iron phosphate chemistry, because when Tesla originally had that standard range Model Y with the 2170 cells back in 2021, that was a much lighter weight. That was like sub 4,000 pounds. This one is only 200 pounds lighter than the long range, and keep in mind the long range Model Y is a dual motor, and that has a much larger battery pack that unlocks the 330 mile range. So given the weight, the 0 to 60 time, and the charging speed, to me this smells like an LFP Model Y. So that's my current guess, but I won't say confirmed yet. But if it is LFP, my god, may I just say this is the best Model Y option to ever be available on the market. For one, I should mention that unlike the Model 3, this does not have some kind of partial premium interior. So this entry-level Model Y with, yes, a bit of a lower range, hopefully, if my suspicions are correct, you can charge to 100% every single day with that iron-based battery pack. Much higher cycle life, so there should be less degradation. But it also has the HEPA air filtration system. It also has the premium sound system on the inside, so there shouldn't be a difference between the long range and the rear-wheel drive in terms of the interior build features and quality. Still has the powered liftgate and everything, and as far as the website is explaining, this Model Y still qualifies for the $7,500 tax credit, which the last time Tesla offered a standard range Model Y in the US, that was not available. So technically, if we're factoring in incentives here, this Model Y should actually be the cheapest one they've they've ever made. The significance of that, considering the Model Y was already the best-selling vehicle in the world, and at least in the United States, it was the best-selling non-pickup truck. So sales, I'm sure, are only going to uptick from here, which of course gets me excited for Tesla's end of quarter push, because they still say they remain on track to deliver over 1.8 million vehicles by the end of this year, which is definitely going to require a record-breaking quarter. But I think they're gonna do it now that they're lowering prices, increasing the desirability. Usually in these end of quarter pushes, Tesla really starts to kick up the incentives. So if Model 3 demand isn't where they want it to be, they might start pushing more free supercharging or free FSD offers to get more and more people buying up these cars. But I should mention, if you're planning on holding off, because the estimated delivery window is already kind of pushing towards the end of 2024, that while yes, next year the tax credit is supposed to convert into a point of sale rebate, so that it's not just a credit off your taxes, but it's actually a reduction based on the actual vehicle paying price that you have to fork over to Tesla when you take delivery of the car, that the battery material requirements are going to go up for the IRS. So as of right now, we don't have confirmation on whether or not the lithium iron phosphate Teslas are going to still qualify under next year's requirements. They might not, in which case the point of sale rebate might convert into a $3,700 credit instead of $7,500, or if the material requirements get really strict, there might not be any federal incentives. But that doesn't change the fact that there's a lot of state incentives, particularly in Colorado. So I highly encourage you to plug in your zip code on Tesla's website, and it should do a pretty good job of letting you know exactly what incentives are available in your area. But yeah, this is fascinating in my opinion. There's a lot of great distractions to keep people's minds off the fact that the Model Y is kind of like the most dated vehicle in the sexy lineup now. The Cybertruck is definitely taking away a lot of attention right now, and Project Highland is exciting, but we're not sure when that's coming to the US. I really hope that Tesla is actually bringing the big Model 3 refresh to Fremont, and they don't just bring one little ambient light bar to the Model 3 dashboard and say, oh, okay, that's good enough for the American market. If I had to pick one thing from Highland to bring to the Model Y or the Model 3 in the US, just the ventilated seats, okay? If we can't get the updated headlights and taillights and the upgraded sound system and suspension, just at least give us ventilated seats, okay? That's all people really want. But honestly, I feel like China's just getting all of the advantages right now. They got the big Model 3 refresh, now their Model Y's getting ambient lighting. We're just barely keeping up with Shanghai. We just got the LFP Model Y, again, assuming based on the weight and speed and everything. But what do you guys think of this new Model Y option? Is this gonna be the new bestseller, or do you still think people are gonna spend, you know, the extra $8,000 on the long range option? Do people want all-wheel drive all that much? Personally, if I was in the market, or if I was recommending any Tesla right now, it would have to be the rear-wheel drive Model Y. You just save so much money with that tier, and in my opinion, it's still gonna be a quick, speedy car. Range is overrated these days. You're not gonna get that at highway speeds, and what's gonna matter a whole lot more on a road trip, speaking as a guy who's done tons of road trips with a standard range Tesla, your charging speed and your charger network, which this Model Y has the superior connector NACS, and it's got the access to the full supercharger network. In my opinion, 260 miles will be absolutely plenty. Save yourself some money, and also get $500 off using a referral code, anybody's, it doesn't have to be mine, but I'll put one in the description there if you're thinking about buying one of these cars, because the value here I think is just unbeatable, especially because I know so many of you want crossovers, you want those bigger cars. This one is just so hard to beat the value of. Like, it was already wiping the floor with any other Toyota RAV4s out there, and now it just got even cheaper. So what do you guys think of all of these changes? Feel free to let me know down in the comments below, and thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.